What did the grape say when the elephant sat on it? Nothing. It just let out a little whine. So, welcome back. You know, it's jokes, I guess. I'm gonna start doing this thing where I start telling jokes at the beginning of a new episode. You know, you probably noticed that I've been doing that already. I just thought I'd let you know. Now, lay off me just for a second, and then I'll explain myself. I think that I need to introduce a little bit more comedy into my show, and I think maybe this show doesn't have enough comedy. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, SparkleDart, comedy isn't something that I like. And, you know what, I agree with you for the most part. I think comedy is something that's overrated. Not a lot of people should be laughing. I think more people should be crying than laughing, because a lot of people don't have a lot to... if you got more stuff to cry about than you have to laugh about, then you should just spend all your time crying. I think that would be a better use of your time. I think maybe people would respect you a little bit more, because if you're laughing all the time, that means you're being very hedonistic. You're living a very hedonistic lifestyle. And because of that, I think people are less inclined to like you. And, you know, living in this world is all about having people like you. That's what it all comes down to. That's what the whole point of living is just living in a world where people tolerate you because you don't spend all of your time, like, watching Arrested Development on Netflix or whatever, and then you'll thank me later. Let me tell you right now, you'll thank me later when you adhere to my little plan that I'm teaching you right now. You'll be saying to yourself, SparkleDart, I think that's a very good plan. I think you've made a very good point. I think you've made several good points today, and because of that, I'm going to take your advice to heart. That's what I'm going to do. Now, what you have to be certain that you aren't doing is I'm not telling you not to make other people laugh. I think that's absolutely fine. But if you're depressed, like a lot of funny people are, then you have more fuel to your fire. And I think that's a good way to go about doing things. Is not to indulge in your hobbies, not to indulge in your pastimes, but to share them with other people. Now, you might be wondering what I'm talking about. I think it's people who go on like Facebook.com and Twitter and websites like that just to get a cheap laugh. Go on BuzzFeed, click on stuff like 7 secrets about Jennifer Aniston that you never thought you'd know before. And people go there and they read those secrets, and then they're like, wow, that's amazing. And then they start telling their friends at work about all this Jennifer Aniston stuff. And then their friends are like, you know, I don't really care because Jennifer Aniston isn't the person that I know. She's not a person in my life. And I don't really understand why you're telling me this. I don't care. Frankly, I don't think it's relevant to either of us, so why are you telling me? It just doesn't really make a lot of sense. I don't like to second-guess you. You are my friend and everything, but that's just not something that really makes a lot of sense. So if you would please elaborate, I guess, for just a second, I would be more than happy to indulge you. But as far as I'm concerned now, it's not something that I want to pursue having a discussion about. So let's talk about the next thing that we have on our agenda, because when you have friends, when you have people that you talk to on a regular basis, you have like a check sheet, like a list of things that you talk about every day with these people that you know, because God forbid you come up with interesting personal topics to talk about. You have to talk about things like Donald Trump's and Hillary Clinton's and Barney Sanders and all sorts of stuff like that. Earthquakes in Japan, you got to talk about stuff like that, because earthquakes are a very good topic for discussion, I think, because, you know, people know so much about earthquakes that they can share this sort of topic conversation with their friends, their families, their brothers, and just make a day of it. Just spend the whole day sitting around a bonfire, throwing marshmallows in the bonfire, and forgetting that you have to put them on sticks if you want to make s'mores, and then trying to fish them out, but then they burn their hands, because why would you put your hand in a campfire? That's stupid. And just kind of spending the whole day doing stuff like that. You might be thinking to yourself, well, if you're going to put your hand in the fire instead of talk about Modern Family, you know, that hot Chicana mother that's on that show, you know the one I'm talking about if you watch that show. Then what are you doing, really? You're just drinking beer around a campfire? Now, there's nothing wrong with drinking beer around a campfire. Personally, I love doing that. It's one of my favorite things to do. Now, if you've never done it before, then send me your... Oh my God. Okay. Send me your email address, your bank information, and your social security number, and then you and I can go camping. And I'm making that promise right now. If you send me all that information, then you and I can go camping. And you might think I'm joking, but I'm not. Listen, I love camping, and I will pay for all of your camping expenses. I promise. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. You know what? I'm making a real ass of myself right now. I'm just digging myself a deeper hole, more fodder for you people to ridicule me with, like you like to do. You like to be SparkleDart. You're so ridiculous. You're not even like a real person. You're like a caricature of a human. Like, that's not actually true. I don't know why you would say that. I think that's ridiculous. I think that's mean. Frankly, I think that's a little unbiased, and you know, I don't appreciate that. I think maybe you just don't like Italian people. I think maybe you just don't like Italians. You call me a wop. You know, I don't like that. You think I spend all my time down at the Sugar Shack singing about Monday, Sunday, happy days, and frankly, I'm a little bit upset about it. You know, I take personal offense to. I am really failing right now, aren't I? You know, failure is something that I'm very accustomed to, and I think if you're any sort of regular human being like me, I think failure is something that you should be okay with being accustomed to, because failure is a natural part of life. Failure is something that, if you've ever so much as like gone to school or something, like, you've probably gotten an F. Like, I know I got it, several Fs, and I'm not even gonna make a sex joke here because I don't want to. I don't think it's in good taste. I'm gonna see if this works a little bit better for me. And because of all that, it's like, what? Why would you even say something like that to me? You know, you call me a failure, SparkleDart. You think I'm not funny. You think I'm fat. You said that I was fat. I heard you say that. You thought that I didn't hear you say that, but trust me, buddy, I heard you say that, and I'm a little bit upset about it. But I wasn't going to bring it up. But now that you're being rude to me again, I think I will bring it up. So, SparkleDart, would you please stop calling me fat so many times? And let me just tell you right now, I'm not going to stop calling you fat so long as you're a fatso. And that's just what I'm going to do. If you're being mean to me, that is. If you're not being mean to me, I have no reason to be mean to you back. And since I'm a very observant person and I don't like to do a lot of critical thinking, I will just point out the flaws of your physical body. I'll jump off the cliff and kill myself, because I guess that's something that we do on the show now, is we like to prevent progress. Because fuck progress, you know, fuck progress. That's why I vote Republicans, because I hate progress and moving forward. So, anyways, yeah, I think that makes sense. What I just said, that string of words that I just belted out, I think that makes all the sense. Now, anyways, so if you've ever signed a contract, I think I was talking about this not too long ago, is filling out my W-2s, working on like getting my tax return back and stuff like that. And you might be thinking to yourself, you're going to talk about this again, you're just covering old ground. No, it's actually more of a segue. If you know what a segue is, it's two things. It's a way to transition from one topic to another, and it's also a really cool scooter. If you've never ridden a Segway before, you should get one. They're very expensive, unfortunately, so you can't just go out and buy one willy-nilly. You have to really save for one. You have to scrimp. You have to like save every penny, and really just make it like you really just have to make like a thing of it. You have to really want a Segway to get one, because honestly, if you can't afford a Segway right now, then there's no reason for you to get one, because a Segway is very much a pastime. It's a toy, basically. It's an adult toy. If you know what I'm talking about, then I guess just go ahead and nod your head and agree with me. But don't, like, if you don't know what I'm talking about, if you're lost, absolutely, completely lost on what I'm talking about, just go ahead and PM me, and then I'll fill you in. I'll make you feel like less than an idiot for not knowing what I'm talking about all the time, because you know that's what I'm. Since you keep telling me that I'm like so full of myself, I've got a big head on my shoulders. I've got a big ego. It's gonna inflate and then blow up, and then everybody in the room is gonna die because of the huge explosion. Then you know what? I guess that's fine. That's something that you think and that I don't think, and because we both have differences of opinions, then we're going to just kind of come to a conclusion that maybe SparkleDart isn't such a crazy person after all. Maybe he's not as crazy as I kept telling him he was, and I feel bad now that I kept saying that, and now that he's dead, now that he perished in a car accident, I can't tell him, and I'm just going to have to live with that for the rest of my life. So if you really want that on your conscience, I guess that's up to you. I'm not going to tell you any different. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me one way or the other, because I don't care that much. It's just something that I've thought about a couple of times, is that you should be nice to people before they pass, especially if it's like a family member or something. You should always be nice to them. You know, they raised you from a little baby, or assuming it's your mother and father. If it's not, then who cares? Unless unless you're one of those kids who had like a rough family life. You had a mother and father who liked to smoke methamphetamines, or maybe your parents broke up and then one of them ran away and never came back home, but your mother started smoking methamphetamines and she couldn't take care of you very easily because she was high all the time, and then she like had weird sores and stuff under her eyes. Her like pores started to crack open and stuff, and then she started looking like a skeleton, like Skeletor from He-Man. And you might be thinking to yourself, what the hell are you talking about, SparkleDart? And I'm like, I'm not sharing any personal details with you. This is not a personal story. This didn't actually happen to me, so stop asking. I feel bad about it enough as it is. Got somewhere to be, hotshot? Alright, so buddy. Holy cow. So anyways, I was talking about doing your taxes, you know. If you've ever heard the phrase devil in the details, you know what I'm talking about, devil in the details. It's something that you have to read the fine print whenever you're signing a contract. If you're going to like apply for an application for an apartment or something, or if you're starting a new job, or if you got something in the mail that said you just won $1,000 but you're actually not so certain that you did, like there's some sort of stipulations towards it. You have to go watch a timeshare, and then you don't actually win that $1,000, you just have to send that $1,000. You have to use that $1,000 and apply it towards purchasing the timeshare, owning the timeshare, and then having that on your personal financial record. And then at that point it's like, well, if I don't get to own that money and you're not going to give it to me at all, then did I really even win that money? Was that money ever mine, or were you just going to sell me a timeshare? This whole time you were just going to sell me a timeshare. Well, I'm glad that that happened the way that it did. You're going to sell me a timeshare for the price you were going to sell it to me for anyways. But if I hadn't agreed to do this, if I hadn't got this letter in the mail, but I still wound up in this room to buy a timeshare from you, you would be selling it to me for about $1,000 more. Is that what you're saying? And then they're like, no, our standard rates start at like $700 a year. And because you won that $1,000 from us in the mail, we're going to take $250 off of your monthly payment. You'll be only paying $550 a month, or a year, I'm sorry, for the timeshare that you'll be receiving. And I'm like, so how does that make sense? You haven't yet explained to me how that actually makes sense. And they're like, you know what? If you don't get it, you don't get it. Now, please just tell us right now, yes or no, are you going to buy a timeshare? And then I'll tell them no, and then I'll leave. And then they will see me out. But seeing as how I flew all the way down to Mexico for this, I'm now stuck in Mexico. And since my next flight isn't for like 3 more days, I don't have anywhere to stay. I just have to like kind of hang out in Mexico and like find a hotel or something, just kind of stay there and make the most of it, but like stay in a hotel or a motel, Holiday Inn, something like that, some sort of situation like that. And it's very uncomfortable, it's very cramped. I have to stay there with like, there's another family that's staying there with me, and it's like, well, why did you, this is more of a hostel, why did you call this a hotel? Because this is absolutely a hostel. If you've ever seen the movie Hostel, the Asian girl jumps in front of the train because she's not beautiful anymore and she gets splattered all over the railroad. It's a good movie. Go check it out if you haven't seen Hostel. There's no way he didn't hit that. What the fuck is going on here? Oh, you bitch. No, bitch, come over here. You have to come over here. Follow me. Set me free. Trust me, and we will escape from the city. Friend. Oh, he just mows me right over. You see he almost fell? Tippy Toes? Tippy Toes, come over here. I'm going to call you that from now on. Tippy Toes. Buddy. Yeah, I see you fire. It's impressive. That's real fantastic. I love it when you vomit all over the fucking floor. Now, if you could just hold on for 1 second, I'm going to actually wait and see if I get some goldies. There's a goldie. Okay. There we go. That's what I'm talking about. That's the SparkleDart way to do things. Wow, it landed right on top of me. That's, you know, it couldn't have happened. This is absolutely ridiculous. I'm going to probably do a cut or something. You're going to have to wait. And we're just going to finish this one right now as it is. I don't know. We'll just make this an extra long episode because I don't feel like doing some editing later in the future. And you're just going to have to sit around and watch like a really fucking long episode, like 22 minutes. I don't know how long it's going to be, but I'm going to fight this Tippy Toes and see how long it takes him to give me a fucking break. You know, that's all I'm talking about is just giving me a break. That's really all it comes down to. Now, if you like to... If you like fruit snacks, now this is just a random tangent. I'm going to go ahead and get away from the anger for just 1 second and go off on a tangent. Now, if you like fruit snacks, like Welch's fruit snacks, or you know, just any of that, Old Orchard, do they make fruit snacks? Ocean Spray, that's what it is. Ocean Spray, they make fruit snacks. If you like that stuff, you should probably consider maybe not eating that, because that's kind of gross now. You might be thinking to yourself, SparkleDart, who are you to say whether or not what I'm eating is gross? And let me tell you, well, I've done a lot of research on this, and I don't like the idea of them putting stuff like. Do you even know what high fructose corn syrup is? I honestly don't think you don't. And if you do know what it is, and you're okay with eating it, then I guess that's fine. I have no problem with that. I'm not here to judge you or who you are or your body or how many wristbands you like to wear on your wrist to try to support different causes like Live Strong or Pretty in Pink. That's a movie by John Hughes. I watched that last night. It's a good movie. It stars Molly Ringwald, and it doesn't star Judd Nelson because he wasn't in that one. Because, oh my God, Tippy Toes. You know, you're being a real shit today. You know that. I don't appreciate it, Tippy Toes. So, all right, buddy. Oh my God, this is the worst thing that's ever happened to me in my life. And this is even worse than that time that I went down to the old market and I got my hand stuck in the window and then I had to have the window shattered in order for me to get it out, and then I had to have stitches all up my wrist and I bled all over the fucking floor and I was in a coma for like 2 weeks. This is even worse than that. Now you might be thinking, how could this possibly be worse than that? And I'll tell you how. It's because I was in a coma the whole time, idiot. I didn't have to feel any pain. And I'm feeling a lot of pain here. And this is much worse than anything that you've ever experienced in your life, I'm sure. Because you live a very cushy life, you live at home with your fucking... You know what, I'm being mean for no reason. I apologize. Let's take a breather for a second and just kind of reflect on the things that we like. I like chrysanthemums. I like butter. I like toffee. Do you like toffee? I like Heath bars, they're really good. I like Heath Ledger. I was sad when he died. That was really sad. Oh my God. I didn't think that was going to work, but you know what, it did. So let's keep having a conversation. This one's going to run long, even though I'm already done with the fucking episode. It's going to run long. So anyways, thanks for watching SparkleDart. From this point on, I'm just going to be rambling about nothing for a little while. So if you want to keep watching, go ahead and do that. But the show is over. I killed Tippy Toes. He didn't piss me off too much more than he already did. So that's kind of how we have to do things, is just kind of accept them and be okay with them. And you know what? Thank you for watching, SparkleDart. Me and the boys are going to hang out for a bit. So if you want to take off, go ahead and do that. I'm not going to judge you too much for it. But anyways, goodbye. Mwah. So now that those nerds are gone, I'm going to kind of just have a little bit of a rap sesh here with you. I like to fill you in on me, my life, how things are, and I've been real tired lately, for lack of a better term. There's a family that just moved in across the street from my house. Not my house, across the street from my house, across the hallway from my apartment, because I live in an apartment because I'm a child, and that's what children do, is they live in apartments, they rent, they leave trash on the living room couch, and they don't take out trash, and there's like 3 bags of trash in the kitchen at any given time, and they take them all out at one time, one Saturday before they start getting drunk because they think that that's responsible or something, and then they start drinking whiskey, Hawkeye whiskey or something like that. And at that point, it's like, well, you pretended to make a difference. You didn't really make that much of a difference, but you did pretend to make a difference. And I guess that's really what it boils down to, is just being a nicer person, being a better person. But you're not at that age really where you have to start making those decisions, because you don't really give that much of a shit. That's kind of what I'm getting at here, is you don't give that much of a shit anymore. Now, if you're that kind of person right now, go ahead and live up those years, buddy, because you're not going to have too many more of them in the future when you start getting older, having a wife, having a job, having to go down to the pound and pick up a dog, and going to the Animal Rescue League and playing with dogs on the weekends, or going to the dog park and walking somebody else's dog because you're dog sitting for them, or even just eating a hot dog. You're not going to have any of that time for any of that anymore, because you're going to be a responsible adult with responsible things to do, and you're going to have to, start driving your kid to school, and then immediately going from there to work, because you have to, be there early, and then you get to get off work, go pick up your kid, then it's like a 40-minute drive home because you decided to put them in a nicer school district, because the one that you live in is not currently that good, but there is a nice one like 40 minutes away, and that's where you want them to go to school, because you think it would be better for them to go to school in a place where they are getting a better education, they're getting a nicer, just a nicer lease on life, take on life, and it's just kind of fun for them to have these rich friends, even though you're not so rich because you work a job where you only make, like, I don't know, $25,000 a year, and your wife doesn't work because she's disabled. She gets disability, but she doesn't work because she's disabled, and she doesn't really make that much. She makes maybe like $10,000 a year, so that combined income isn't that much for two people, but you can't afford a house, and that's the important thing, is that you can't afford a house, and that's what it comes down to, is being able to afford that house, because when you afford a house, it's kind of the point where your life starts turning around. You start living like a person who hasn't had so many hardships. And if you've had a lot of hardships in your life, you know what I'm talking about. You know how it goes. So, I don't know. That's just what it comes down to, in my opinion. It's just having a place to call home is more important than anything else, in my opinion. If you live in someone's basement, or if you're still living with your parents, for God forbid you live in out of your car or whatever. I don't even know how you're watching the show if you live out of your car. I guess you decided to get an expensive phone plan and now you can't afford to live in a house, and that's the decision that you decided to make. That's on you, buddy. I'm not going to judge you for having bad decision-making skills, but you do have bad decision-making skills. So I guess that's just really what it boils down to, is just you not being a bad person, because nobody's inherently a bad person. That's kind of a learned thing, is nature versus nurture. You're like, which one nature is, a nature or nurture? I don't know. Like those stories about twins who get separated at birth and then they both wind up like marrying a woman with the same name, and then getting a dog that also has the same name, and then living in a house that is the same color, and then renting a movie from Family Video that has the same actors in it. Stuff like that. That's what I'm talking about. Stuff like that is nature versus nurture. And if you've ever taken like a psychology class, you've probably kind of heard about this before. You know what I'm talking about. It's the idea that the way a person is, like if they're racist to something, that is learned behavior from their parents, not something that they pick up. Like if two racist parents have a child and then that child is put up for adoption, would that child still be a racist? And if that child turns out to be a racist, would it be their fault of nature, or would it be the fault of the nurture? Nature, of course, being that his parents are racist in the first place, and nurture being that his adoptive parents also wound up being racist. There's so many factors in there that you can't ever really know. It's not something that you can ever really pin down to any one specific thing. And if you try to, you're just going to kind of make a fool of yourself. You're going to look like a fool, and then someone's going to call you out on your bullshit, and you're going to have to try to just accept it, live day by day, make a nice stand for yourself, and just, go about having a fun time with your friends. So anyways, thank you for sticking around. I know some of you might have left already. Some of you might have just kind of tuned out. Maybe you thought that you would just listen to this because you wanted to see if anything funny would happen, and then you found out that nothing funny did happen, and then you regret spending an extra 4 minutes here on my show listening to the asinine things that I say and internalizing them, and then being like, SparkleDart, why are you such a fucking asshole? And I'll tell you why. It's because I think it's funny. So anyways, thank you for sticking around if you did. I'll come back again real soon with something new. So thank you for watching. Goodbye.